How's it going, guys? CheesyCats here. Today we're going to be taking a look at a pretty unique new character, the Ice Merchant Cardona. Now that we've gone through all the Bravely Collab character releases, it's back to our regularly scheduled programming with some characters that will likely be useful for the upcoming Barking Cup. Cardona is a tailor, categorized as a merchant for COTC. She's actually my favorite merchant in the game, not only for some of her playability quirks, but also for her design aesthetic, cheerful personality, and voice. Speaking of her voice, Cardona is voiced by Yui Ishikawa, who also provides the voice of the one and only Mikasa Ackerman from Attack on Titan. Some of her other notable voicing roles include Violet Evergarden from the anime of the same name, 2B from Nier Automata, Enterprise from Azur Lane, and Morgan Le Fay from Fate Grand Order. Looking at her stats, there's not anything particularly special here. Compared to her fellow 5-star merchants Gilderoy and Tressa, Cardona finds herself on the middle ground in just about every stat. However, her uniqueness comes from skills in her kit that don't rely on her stats. So let's jump right into her kit. Starting with her offensive assets, we have some really strong skills in both Spear and Ice. For Spear, she has a one-hit Spear Aoe by default, and very early on she can upgrade this to Heal Swing, a one-hit Spear Aoe which also heals her. Her best Spear skill is available at 5-star only, a 3-hit Spear Aoe, which has a much cheaper SP cost than it probably should, being only 52 by default, and going even lower to 42 once she's level 100. By comparison, another merchant, which is not currently yet in the game, Cecily, has the exact same skill except it costs 68 SP by default. Because of this relatively cheap SP cost and the fact that it's Cardona's only 3-hit spear attack, it's honestly pretty reasonable to just bring this along with you at all times, even in fights against a lone enemy. Cardona's last spear attack in her kit is a 2-hit spear random target, which inflicts 2 turns of 15% speed down per hit, a skill that we've seen previously on another ice merchant, Helga. On the ice side, she has just a couple skills, but they're both very powerful. By default, she has access to a 2-hit ice AoE, great for multiple enemies, while at 5-star she gains a 4-hit random target ice, an excellent tool for quickly breaking the shields of a single enemy. Next, let's take a look at Cardona's utility options, as they're pretty unique and part of what makes her a pretty fun unit to use. First up are her taunts. At 2 stars, she has a skill that applies an AoE taunt to the ally of your choosing for 2 to 5 turns. This taunt can be applied to Cardona herself to let her tank, or can be applied to another ally unit if you just want to take attention away from the rest of your team. Additionally, you can use this skill with specific allies in order to get some pretty neat combinations. At 4 stars, she gains a variation on this taunt. In addition to choosing an ally to grant the taunt to, she also heals that ally first, with priority. This solves one of the biggest issues that tanks have had up until this point, which is that their speed stat is typically slow as mud, and you often can't get value out of the taunt on the turn you cast it, because that unit will often be acting last. Notably, both of these taunts do come with a downside compared to some of the other taunts we've seen on other characters, in that they do not give any stat increases. Gilderoy's taunt increases both of his own defenses, while Tressa's grants team-wide attack up. However, the flexibility on these skills with being able to apply the taunt to the ally of your choosing makes for some pretty hilarious combos with other specific units. For example, if you have Tressa or Adele, you can combine their sidesteps with Cardona's taunt for some on-the-fly dodging. Even though Tressa is able to perform a taunt and sidestep combination herself, it uses up multiple turns and multiple ability slots, making it a bit troublesome to accommodate at times. So this allows you to free up her slots a bit. Meanwhile, Adele just straight up doesn't have a taunt at all. Another unit that you'll be able to combine Cardona with down the line is Ophelia, who has a similar mechanic to sidestep but for magic attacks. You can redirect the enemy spells with Cardona's taunt to Ophelia, who can then cast her magic evade skill and neutralize their attack. Rounding out Cardona's utility line is SP Gift. For 50 SP, you can grant an ally 25 to 100 SP based on boost level. This makes Cardona a very interesting unit to use in extended fights, as she can give some of your other units more SP to work with. That being said, Cardona is a pretty great attacker herself and probably wants to use that SP for her own offense. Overall, I typically recommend taking her 3-hit Spear AoE and 4-hit Ice random target, swapping it out for the 2-hit Ice AoE when applicable. The priority heal and taunt is a very fun skill to use and is often what I bring in my final slot. Taking a look at Cardona's passives, her 1-star passive gives both herself and the ally in the same row a continuous 20% speed up at all times. This makes her normally low speed a bit faster, but depending on who you pair alongside her, it can give a pretty massive boost of speed since it's based on a percentage. Do be careful about the speed stats across your entire team though, as this boost can potentially end up causing your units to attack in an unintended order. For example, forcing your nuker to attack before the unit that would otherwise initiate a break. Her 3-star passive gives her +1 turn duration to any status ailments she inflicts. Do note that because this specifies status ailments and not debuffs, this does not apply to her 2-hit random target spear that inflicts speed down. However, it does apply to her taunts, allowing her to taunt enemies for anywhere from 3 to 6 turns based on boost level, instead of just 2 to 5. Overall, Cardona is a fantastic unit for breaking enemy shields between her 3-hit spear and 4-hit ice. She also has unique utility, being able to grant taunt to units that ordinarily cannot have it. While she isn't a nuking unit by any means, her damage should still be fairly respectable nonetheless. If you do want her to deal a bit more damage, the equipment choices are pretty clear. Merchant's emblems if you want more spear damage, or ice runes if you want more ice damage. Alternatively, consider equipping accessories like the Ebony Dragon Scales, or ones that give additional HP if you want to increase her tanking ability. For more info on what the Ebony Dragon Scales are or how to get them, check out my guide on the Shadow Dragon fight that I posted recently. Both her spear and ice attributes make her an ideal unit on paper for the upcoming Varkin Cup as well, as there are enemies in that fight that are weak to both of these attacking types. However, you will want to watch out once the fight goes late, as Varkin himself isn't weak to spears, and you can also get punished for using random target or AoE ice skills at the tail end of the fight. I'll have more details on the Varkin Cup in an upcoming video, so be sure to look out for that. And with that, we've come to the end of the Cardona overview. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. And until next time, this has been Chizukats. See ya!